Greetings, dear ones. Never doubt that everything happens according to the divine plan, for the earth is a living soul, which is never destined to constantly suffer from the consequences of a divided consciousness. As high resonance energy continues to flood the earth, those who are spiritually awakened, as well as those who do not feel it, are being affected physically, emotionally, mentally and spiritually. Most of you are still in the process of clearing the low resonance energy of hundreds of lifetimes lived in collective belief systems that were much denser and undeveloped than today. Prior to purification, a person will carry the energy of intense experiences, good and bad, into each subsequent life, where they will continue to influence his choices, likes, dislikes, fears and desires for people, places or things. Each of you has had the experience of meeting someone, and for no apparent reason, you immediately liked or disliked him. This is due to the fact that there remains the remainder of the energy from some previous interaction with a person or knowledge about him. They do not need to be cleansed. The main energy centers that affect human life are cleansed. Never forget that you are consciousness and not just physical bodies of organs and functions. Death leaves behind a material idea of a person, but as a divine consciousness, a real person simply takes on a different form. Try not to rush into troubleshooting 3D problems and their solutions. Old energy often flows and is felt at the weakest point in the body. An old injury or ongoing health condition, fatigue as well as physical, emotional, mental and even spiritual aches and pains are common. Sometimes the real experience that created the energy block appears in some similar 3D version. Some experience the cleansing as physical symptoms, while others experience it emotionally and mentally, depending on the type of cleansing energy. Rest more and trust that the process is unfolding as it should, not comparing with the experience of others. This does not mean that you should ignore or pretend that what you feel does not exist. Simple solutions to relieve discomfort are good, but resorting to hard drugs and intense 3D protocols for what you're experiencing will only delay the process. Some cleansings take longer, because the cleansing process must take place at a pace that the body and mind are ready for and are determined by the higher self gradually, as a succession of layers. This often happens when a person has added an amplified energy. An example would be taking the same vows in successive lives because they were the same state of consciousness. Trust that your higher self, that aspect of you that never forgot who it is, knows what you are ready to handle and when. You have entered a time of death when everything old and finished must be replaced by something higher and more real. But it can feel like death when you leave much of the familiar behind. The mind does not want to give up what it is used to and will constantly remind you of the good old days. Development to a state of consciousness capable of discerning the reality underlying phenomena is a process that begins with intellectual knowledge, then acceptance and practice. Many sincere, duly awakened disciples of the truth make the mistake of trying to live and experience the absolute just because they have read a book about truth or have accepted that God is everything. Intellectual knowledge does not manifest itself and cannot manifest itself, because it is consciousness, and not reason, that constitutes the substance of form and is the creative principle of all that exists. Truth must become a state of consciousness before it can be expressed. You are not beginners. Much of the truth has already become your state of consciousness and is manifesting, but you are not aware of it. Compassion, honesty, patience, courage, love, etc. are all aspects of divine consciousness. Think of consciousness as a cookie dough. Think of the mind like cupcake paper or cupcake liners. Cupcakes may be artfully iced and decorated, but the taste and quality will always reflect the contents of the dough. Each person is freely allowed to love, hate, blame others, or deny the truth as long as they want to, but the content of each person's consciousness determines what it expresses. One can never blame those who choose to live in a hypnotized state of consciousness. Evolution is a process that unfolds differently for each person, because each person has had or should have a different experience. Some are just beginning their journey of awakening. Every person at some point will awaken to their oneness with God and will do so without preaching and proselytizing others, because this is the reality. Place your spiritual questions in meditation and consider them from the point of view that you already are one with insights and answers that may subtly unfold as you do so. After contemplating any truth in contemplative meditation, there is a time of silence and consummation that allows you to simply rest in oneness. It may seem that even after many years of meditation nothing happens, but the intention to tune into your true divine self is always heard, because it is you who are listening. Let go of all ideas about how meditation should look, feel, or be experienced in order to be real. Meditation has been presented to the world as a means of achievement based on the 3D belief that you are separate from what you want or need, and meditation will help you get it. This is a beginner's approach to meditation, but it is often necessary for those who are unfamiliar with sitting in silence with themselves. If this kind of meditation is continued, it usually leads to less seeking and more rest, and finally to a deeper understanding of what meditation is. The energy of the earth is becoming more and more refined, which in turn is causing the density to come to the surface and open up to what it represents. Much remains to be seen, which will shock many. Do not deny, resist, or argue with others about the appearance of the world. Rather, as someone who understands what is happening, just be an observer, always focused on realizing that the earth is a spiritual universe inhabited by the sons and daughters of God. Even those who are considered corrupt or evil are divine consciousness, as there is no other life or substance from which they could be made. Those who live in density are completely unaware of who they really are and therefore have created lives in which they operate and seek and experience all their pain and pleasure from the ideas of separation and two forces. Your job is not to send light to them believing they don't have it, but to see and recognize their light already present, no matter how deep that light may be buried in density. Some of you are on Earth to be active in the Earth's ascension process, while some of you are here simply to hold the light. Let your intuition guide you as to what resonates and know that they often overlap and neither is more spiritual than the other. Every ordinary action between humans, animals and nature is a light work when it flows from the consciousness of oneness. Many choose to leave at this time, so don't be surprised if this happens to someone close to you. This is a difficult time for some, and many choose to leave on a deeper level to return home, rest, heal, and then return well prepared to a higher resonance planet. Every twist and turn of the human path is simply the realization of the fact that God exists. We are the Arcturian group,